his wife Maria. They share Gimmelwald's only teaching position and supplement their income by renting out 3 rooms in their house. As is generally the case with B&Bs, the rooms are as comfortable as a hotel, but homier. You can be as private as you like, take the key and do your own thing, or go downstairs and get to know the family. Okay, time to study the mountain. Ollie knows the backside of the Jungfrau intimately.
Okay. Another nice hut is up there in the Red Valley. That's a hike that even unexperienced people could do.
Small hotels and pensions are also a good value. A pension is a place without many of the services you'd expect from a hotel. This one is inexpensive, with the toilet and shower down the hall. The beds and bedding are traditional. And the place creaks just the way you want it to. For decades, Walter's been taking good care of travelers. Continuing our swing through the best of Europe, we're heading for Paris. After a full day in the Alps, this train gets us there for a late bedtime. A big city like Paris is bursting with world-class sights. Magnificent boulevards, towering monuments, and glorious history. Amidst all this grandeur, I find a cozy neighborhood to call home. As you may remember from our Paris episode, I choose a hotel on Rue Claire. It's a traffic-free bit of village Paris, a 10-minute walk from the Eiffel Tower. I think big, expensive hotels have one thing in common. They build a wall between you and the people and culture you traveled so far to experience. My choice, a small hotel in a neighborhood like Rue Claire. Accommodations are a classic example of how spending less can actually give you a richer experience. Europe's big cities still have well-located, characteristic, and comfortable hotels at an affordable price. Many countries have helpful rating systems. In France, plaques with stars are posted by the door. In a well-chosen 1-star place, budget travelers can sleep well and safely. Rooms are pretty basic, but inexpensive. European cities have lots of night noise, and cheap hotels often have single-pane windows. Rather than a room with a view, I'll take a quiet room on the back. In France, I usually look for 2-star hotels. Still basic, but more comfortable. With good beds, private bathrooms, and Beam Me Up Scotty elevators. Remember, the more people who share a room, the less expensive it gets. A double costs just a little more than a single, and many hotels are happy to squeeze in a cheap 3rd bed. 3-star hotels are more expensive, but can be a good value. Here you're paying for extras like a lounge, room service, and rooms with all the comforts.
So we have air conditioning, a mini bar, and a full bathroom.
Know your priorities. This hotel's great, but many on a budget may need to choose between these extras at $50 a day and a nice dinner, concert, or city tour. Throughout Europe, small family-run hotels offer good values. This London hotel is plush, beautifully located, and surprisingly inexpensive because it has no elevator. This friendly hotel is one of the least expensive in the German resort of Baden-Baden because it's small, without TVs, minibars, and a night clerk. But that didn't seem to keep our children from settling right in. And my favorite hotel in Rome, small enough where the owner can go over your sightseeing plans, provides fine rooms at half the cost of the bigger hotels. Forget the old shower down the hall. These days in Europe, most hotels have remodeled, shoehorning small bathrooms into every room. Many enjoy the freedom of just finding hotels as they go. But to get the best rooms in the most popular places, book in advance. Travel agencies and local tourist boards work with the big hotels. They don't list or even know about many of the smaller places, and their advice is colored by who gives commissions. Smart travelers use the web and guidebooks. And these days, with email, credit cards, and English-speaking receptionists, it's easier than ever to book hotel rooms directly. If you want to book a room, how do you do this?
You just phone if there is possibility. You just send a fax or email. That's all you have to do. With a fax, in a fax you send a credit card number.
And if you do not come, what happens?
That is terrible for us. What happens? We keep one night deposit from your credit card number.
So it's very important to remember.
Yes, it is.
If you'd like them to hold a place for you without a deposit, promise you'll arrive by midday. Small and friendly places are often happy to trust you this way.
Yes, of course you can, and there is no problem. If there is a room, you're welcome.
When it's time to wash clothes, you've got several options. Wash small items in the sink, pay your hotel to wash your clothes, or go to the neighborhood laundromat. Self-service places come with detergent dispensers and English instructions. And many of these places offer a drop-off and pick-up later service. So rather than knitting, you can see the great museums. Picnics are a fast and fun choice for lunch. When picnicking, you can buy whatever looks good, regardless of price. Great outdoor markets are a European special. 50 gram saucisse. Choose an atmospheric place to give your picnic some class. We've put together a cheap and healthy meal for two. Delightful cheese, 100 grams of Morbier, strawberries, wine, a tiny quiche, a little something for dessert, and a reasonable view. We're speeding to London, the final leg of our Best of Europe loop. And this is my kind of fast food, breakfast at just under 200 miles per hour. Traditionally, on the continent, breakfast is small. In France, locals just grab a pastry and coffee on the way to work, and hotels serve a croissant with marmalade and coffee or tea. But encroaching American ways and tourist expectations are helping make hearty breakfasts with cheese, meat, yogurt, and juice more popular. Europe's uniting both politically and physically. Wealthier countries are helping their poor neighbors catch up, and with huge investments in its transportation infrastructure, European trade and commerce is zipping around faster than ever. And that includes us travelers. The Eurostar train, which speeds under the English Channel in 17 minutes, is just one example of exciting projects lacing Europe closer together. From Portugal to Norway, great bridges, tunnels, and bullet trains are making this small continent even smaller. The fastest way now from the Eiffel Tower to Big Ben is by train, not plane. We're arriving in London in time for lunch. London's giant wheel is an example of how the nations of the European Union are working together. How do you make a giant Ferris wheel? Swiss motor, Italian steel, German design, and a capital English view. As Europe continues to unite, nations are less threatened by regions. Barcelona lets Madrid wave its Catalonian flag. The Irish gift of gab comes in Gaelic, and Scotland, for the first time in centuries, has its own parliament. For those of us who love the cultural variety of Europe, this is great news. So, unification does not mean the end of diversity. Europe may end up with one passport and one currency, but in less than 3 hours, you'll still go from fine red wine to great dark ales. By the way, Europe's still pretty smoky for many Americans. While Britain has more smoke-free places to eat and sleep than you'd find on the continent, even here, it's hard to find a good pub without lots of smoke. The big cities are becoming increasingly well-organized. Tame them by mastering transportation options: buses, the underground, and taxis. Even budget travelers need to remember that vacation time is valuable. Trafalgar Square, spend money to save time. Groups of 3 or 4 usually travel cheaper and faster by taxi rather than riding buses and subways. Throughout Europe these days, cabbies are regulated, honest, and simply charge the meter. I round the bill up 5 or 10%. The extras are clearly explained and legitimate. London, like most big European cities, has a fine underground system, letting you zip anywhere in town, regardless of rush hour traffic, fast. Big cities become surprisingly manageable when you get comfortable with their underground systems. To avoid ticket window lines, buy tickets from coin-operated machines. Follow the signs to the right platform. You'll find helpful maps everywhere. In what Londoners call the Tube, everything is labeled north, south, east, or west. Each line has 2 directions and therefore 2 platforms. Signs list the line, direction, and stop served by each platform. Lost? Locals are happy to help. Because some tracks are shared by several lines, signboards announce which train's next and how many minutes till it arrives. Final destinations are displayed above the windshield. And always mind the gap. Track your progress with the chart on board. Here's our stop. Signs show the best exit, saving you lots of walking. If you want the British Library, it's right this way. And city bus systems are worth figuring out. Buses are frequent, user-friendly, and come with a view. Here in London, a 24-hour transit pass pays for itself in about 3 rides. With it, you can just hop on and off both the buses and the tube as you like. Even if you never use public transportation at home, try it over here. After a few rides, you'll be getting around like a local. Then, to get the most out of your visit, consider catching some kind of guided tour. Big cities have big bus orientation tours. While the multilingual tape recordings and guides can be uninspiring, these generally provide a worthwhile overview. In many European cities, there's a more innovative kind of tour. Hop-on, hop-off buses make a circular route stopping at a city's top dozen or so attractions with departures about every 10 minutes and a continuous narration of the sights.
Do go in, make sure you visit the crypts. You'll find the tombs of Admiral Nelson, the Duke of Wellington, Florence Nightingale, and even Sir Christopher Wren himself. They're all buried here at St. Paul's Cathedral.
A single ticket gives you 24 hours of hop-on and off privileges as you sightsee your way efficiently through town. Another great way to get to know a city, even in the rain, is a walking tour. Especially in Britain, you'll find hard-working local historians taking visitors on fascinating walks through a particular slice of their town's past. We're checking out the fine churches of Sir Christopher Wren.
What you did was, as you climbed into the pulpit, the preacher would have turned the hourglass like that, and then that would have been the time he was supposed to preach. This one, we've actually timed it, and it's 29.5 minutes for that sand to run through this hourglass. So if you were a really good preacher, you probably turned it twice, so you got an hour's worth. All right?
Walking tours are advertised at tourist information offices and in local entertainment magazines. For me, they're always time and money well spent. The telephone is a powerful tool for smart travel. Don't look for coin-operated booths. Get a phone card. There are 2 kinds of phone cards, both sold at newsstands. For local calls, use a local phone card. But for calling home, an international card lets you call anywhere in the world for literally pennies a minute. And it's Rick. Yes, I'm coming home tomorrow, as planned. 2:15 at the airport. It'll be great to be home. I miss you. After every trip to Europe, I'm reminded you can never exhaust this place of what it has to offer. The continent shares its many wonders masterfully. The fine points of European culture survive and inspire. The art-packed museums make it clear the passions of the past are still with us. But most of all, it's the people who keep me coming back. Whether playing cricket on the village green, learning how old-time aristocrats exercised, stumbling onto a remote laundry, trying a new sport, or drinking to the good life, Europe is both a playground and a classroom. This concludes our three-part travel skills special. Remember, anyone who equips himself with good information and wants to travel smart can. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rick Steves. Keep on traveling. Cheerio!